All right. Welcome everyone to How To's Discord webinar number 1. Today we will be going through best use cases of using To's, features that you may or may not have known about, and To's World. I will be presenting a majority of our webinar on our desktop app, but everything that you see on the desktop app will be almost exactly mirrored on our mobile app as well. So when I click into To's World, what we will see is lists that people are choosing to share to the To's World. So in order to share a list to To's World, all you need to do is go into your list settings, which is these 3 dots in the top right-hand corner of any list, and you will see this little toggle that says Publish To's World. So once I publish this list, not only do I get some fun little confetti, if I revisit the To's World screen, you will now see that one of the newest lists shared to To's World will be at the top of the feed. So we're talking movie ratings, Parker's dev list, Jedda's To's wish list, and then if I want to actually look at this list, not only can I see the different holidays that Jedda has added to her list, I can actually also add those dates to my own personal To's. If you have any questions related to To's World, please feel free to go ahead and hop into the comments. What determines the order of lists in To's World? Parker makes a change to his development list. It'll move to the top of To's World, but you can also choose to filter them by the top of a particular time or exclusively look at the lists of people that you are To'sing with. You can go into more, and you can go into To'sers if you don't already have it in your side menu, and then these are the people that you are adding to become a part of your network. All right, so that is a little update on To's World. I believe that the next thing that you guys wanted to talk about was parent and sublists. One way to create a sublist is to select the things that you want in your sublist. And for example, let's just use these as an example. I will now that I have my things selected, if I click the green sublist button, I can name this sublist. This is a test for the webinar. And now that will jump all of those things into this sublist. Double click on the title of a sublist. It'll open it as the list itself. The way that I want you to think about that is very similar to folders on a Windows computer. When you double click into a folder, you will then see the files within that folder. That is very similar to a parent and a sublist. My parent list or top level folder is my day. And then the sublist is Joe Today, which also has sublists inside of it as well. So for example, I can double click into TikToks that will generate the longest watch time. And this is now a list within a list. So I can then also click into any one of the parent lists to effectively navigate around To's. So let's go ahead and look at my recipes list here. You'll notice that this is all organized by different categories of recipes. We've got drinks, we've got sauces, so on and so forth. Let's say that I wanted to create a new sublist for chicken. I already have one of those. Let's call this one steak. On web, you can do Command K, which will then create a sublist for steak. Or you can select the thing, and then you can click the green sublist button, which will also create that sublist. What you guys may have just noticed is that when I do Command K, it will show me that I have an existing list called Skirt Steak Marinade. The reason that that is because in the title of this list, I already have the word steak. So effectively, To's is asking, are you really looking to create a new sublist? Or do you want to just add this pre-existing list to your recipes parent list? So if I click on this, then Skirt Steak Marinade will jump onto my recipes list. Is there a way to have a sublist attached to multiple parent lists, like shared custody? Haha. I love that question, because as a child of divorce, I certainly know what shared custody is like. Whenever you're looking at a list, you can add it to as many lists as you want, whether it be, like for example, if I am going to the store today and I am going to be making my Korean pork tacos, I can then select that thing and I can add it to today. So what will now happen is on my day, I have added slow cooker Korean pork tacos. Will it soon be possible to create sublists simply by indenting things? That actually is available now. I do believe that it is something that it may or may not be on the desktop app yet, but here is an example. If I create a thing right here, and then I indent some things below it, test 1, test 2, and then I select this thing and I click Sublist, it then adds those indented things below it to that list. Now let's talk a little bit about list settings and customizing your quick and select actions. Fantastic. When you click on these 3 dots, you will see a collection of different list actions. Effectively speaking, these are quick actions that are not editable, but what they will allow you to do is add them to a parent list, share the list as a link, collaborate on the list, delete the list, and auto-sort the list. So those are all of your quick actions, as well as the reading time and the amount of completed things on said list. When I go further in to list settings, making the link shareable. So let's say you share a list with someone, but then want to remove their ability to read or access that list. You can toggle this on and off such that you can share a list at one point, but then you can remove that ability later on. Publish, very similar to what I showed you guys earlier. You can publish lists to Two's World, so that is what that toggle does. Hiding completed things will collapse all of the completed things. So if you complete a thing by using Command D or by swiping it to the right, you can then collapse those things at the top of your list. And then these two are actually very interesting, but also important. Let's say you have a book notes list and you like to star your favorite quotes. You have the option of then showing those things in your stars or not. Whether it be a favorite quote, a random idea, the stars menu allows you to see all of those things that you've starred across your twos. And so then that button, and I believe that I need to zoom in. I apologize if that was a little bit small for that little experience. But what you'll notice is that I actually have the ability of hiding these things from my stars. So what I can do is go into the list settings and I can remove it from my stars view. And you will now notice that despite the fact that that is a star, it will not appear in my stars view. Let's see about any other list settings that might be good to highlight. Same thing applies for show and to-dos. So if you are showing, let's say, a grocery list and you like to have the checkboxes next to each thing, you can choose to not mark those as to-dos, so they will not appear in your to-dos view. You will just be able to have the to-do box next to each item, but not necessarily have them clutter up your to-dos view. We have the owner of the list, the different collaborators on the list, the links that are inside of the list, and then the ability to add lists to parent lists or add sublists. Making a copy will copy all of the details of that list onto another list. And you also have the stats of that list. The views, the opens, views being how many times somebody else that was not you accessed this list. Opens being how many times I accessed this list. The reading time, the words, the things, and other little stats. Any questions about list settings? Let us take a look. What does the auto-sort feature do? Neon, that is a great question. What auto-sort does is the ability to change the order of the things on your days and or lists. So let's say I move this to-do down here and this to-do down here. If I then go into my list settings and I auto-sort or list actions, it will then put those two things next to each other in an order that we've deemed best. Currently what that is reminders, then sublists, then to-dos, then things. So you also have the ability to create page breaks by typing == space, and then adding or moving the page break to somewhere else in the list so that you can have that added sectioning or organization, if you will. So auto-sort puts like things together. Any more questions about list settings? All right, awesome. Let us talk a little bit about customizing your quick and your select actions. On mobile, what you can do is you can select anything, any item, and then you will be able to see a more section at the end of all of the options that you see displayed here. Actually, I think, if I'm not mistaken, perfect. Very similar to this button here on my side menu customizations. You will see a hammer and the word that says customize, which will then show you this menu, which allows you to drag and drop quick actions into your quick actions bar or different views into your side menu. So let's say I wanted to add today to my side menu. Currently, you guys see all I have in my side menu is home, my week, on this day, stars, and to-dos. If I drag today into my side menu, no matter where it goes, so let's just put it in between week and on this day, I will now have today in my side menu. Same thing applies if I drag it down and out. So that is how you can kind of create a twos that works best for you. So whatever quick actions you're using the most, whatever select actions you're using the most, you can choose not to have all of the different options in your side menu. You can drag and drop which ones you would like. So let's talk about on this day. One of my favorite features in twos with no shadow of a doubt. On this day is a collection of the days and lists that you created on this date. Today, a week ago, a month ago, a year ago, and 2 years ago. When you uncollapse these days, twos will show you the things that you wrote down on this day. So that way, you don't need to constantly be thinking about the things that you want to be reminded of within twos. You can simply visit your on this day and be auto reminded of things that you wrote down on this day. So for example, on this day, 2 years ago, we had just moved into our apartment at the Pearl, so I made a list for the Pearl. I had a twos slogan, twos, jot it down, at 5:13 a.m., which must be a mistake because I do not wake up at that time. But so, fastest place to write things down, twos, jot it down, January 20th, 2021. I had an invention/company idea, a water bottle designed for your bedside. So I guess for whatever reason, I was very thirsty and I was in bed and I was like, well, when I'm laying down, drinking a glass is hard. So I almost need something kind of like a Camelback. But the beauty of twos is that I can write these stupid ideas down and I will put them in my invention and company ideas list, and twos will remind me of those little things that I wrote down without me having to actively think about them at any given time. And so then that is effectively what on this day is intended to do and remind you of. So the beauty of using twos is that the longer you use it, the more memories that you have. We wanted to talk a little bit about user settings. Let us do that. Here are my user settings. I can edit my profile, so I can change my username. I can also change my email address or add a phone number so that people can find me if they have my contact information on their phone. That is my actual phone number. Feel free to call me anytime. You can also change your preferences. So the reason that I put this into the questionnaire or the poll is because there are a lot of preferences. So I don't have time to go through all of these one by one. We will be making an update in the near future, but effectively speaking, your preferences, very similar to customizing your quick actions or your select actions, will allow you to customize your twos experience to however best works for you. For example, starting on home. So instead of opening twos to today every time you want to open twos, you can actually open twos to the home view instead. So definitely go through your preferences. Default thing type. This effectively allows me to change my default thing from a dash to a no dash to a to-do. Theme, dark and light mode. Export all of my data in twos. And like we also had to get to, referring a friend. This is a brand new feature that Parker released recently. Thank you, Parker. Being able to customize your referral code. So I have updated my referral code to be Joe. That is unique to me and to this account. What that means is that whenever somebody signs up with referral code Joe, then I receive 200 coins for a free feature. You also have the ability to give credit to whoever referred you. So visit your user settings, customize your referral code, and then also count up the amount of people that you've referred to use twos. and you both receive a free feature. When you click this refer a friend button, you will then copy the link so that when they click on it, they will automatically be taken to sign up and they can sign up for Twos, get a free feature. There's my stats, and that is all of my user settings. What else? Which lists would you like to see? Twos thoughts for Parker, book notes, free food to use, recipes, bucket list. I will leave this open for about another 15 seconds and we will start running through them. Parker, if I am losing my mind over here, feel free to shoot me a text and say, yo, you're losing your mind. Alrighty, Twos thoughts for Parker, book notes, free food to use, bucket list, and recipes. Fantastic. So we will start in Twos thoughts for Parker, one of my most accessed lists of all time, which is why it is in my bookmarks. So here I have all of my bookmarks. I will open up Twos thoughts for Parker, which, as you will notice, has 1,383 completed things on it. So you will notice that my Twos thoughts for Parker list is shared by me. That means that I created this list and I have shared it with Parker. What that means is anytime I make a adjustment to this list, aka add a thing to it, move a thing to it, complete a thing on it, then Parker will get an email, which will be a notification in the near future, letting him know that I've made an update to Twos thoughts for Parker. What I do is I create my top level things, and then Parker responds by adding a thing below it and indenting it. So it is where I write all of my ideas down, whether they be bugs, whether they be demo notes, whether they be priorities or not priorities. I remember another list that you guys wanted to see was my free food to use list, one of my favorite lists as well. So you'll notice that this list doesn't have any shared or collaborated people on it because this is for me. These are my food coupons. These are coupons for food that I get in the mail, in my email, on my credit cards, whatever it may be. So I also have collapse completed things on top. So whenever I get a notification from Chipotle letting me know that I have a free entree, effectively speaking, you can add reminders to your food coupons so that you remember to get free food. Like $5 Charlie's cheesesteaks when you download the app. One of my favorite lists ever. Let's see, what are some other lists you guys want to see? Book notes and my bucket list. Fantastic. My book notes list, another really good list. I don't read nearly as much books as Parker does, but I do read. So, newsflash to all the haters out there, Twos Joe can read. I have my book notes all organized by sublists. So the top level lists being the name of the book. So for example, Atomic Habits, one of my favorite books. If I double click into this sublist, it'll then open up my Atomic Habits list. I have another sublist for my summary of the Atomic Habits book. So then if you want to share that with your book club or your teacher or your friends, whatever it may be, I really enjoy the ability to organize the different chapters by sublist. And the way that I created this summary is very, very simple. I just went into each chapter and I selected the things that I wanted to move into my summary. So very similar here, you just go into each individual sublist and select the things that you want to add to the summary, and then move to a copy. I do not want to remove those things from the chapter sublist. I would like to copy them to a new list that I call Atomic Habits Summary 2. So now they remain in each individual chapter, and I can also open Atomic Habits Summary 2, which I can then add to my Atomic Habits list. So that is my book notes. My bucket list, another fantastic list. This is all of the different things that I think about on a fly that I want to do before I kick the bucket, as they say. So stay in a waterfront villa in the Maldives. I think I saw a picture on Instagram and I was like, I gotta do that. See the Northern Lights, take one of the world's longest nonstop flights, an outdoor hockey game, run the St. Petersburg Pier, visit Jackson Hole, ride a bike through the city of San Francisco. Somebody told me that it's beautiful to ride a bike through the city of San Francisco, so I'll have to check in with Jedda on that and see if that is in fact true. This is my bucket list. Free food to use recipes. We already looked at my recipes list, so I would say that that was pretty good. Places I've lived, Two's Joe, contact info. Okay, so those will be the last two lists that I show you guys really quick. Places I've lived and my contact info. So if I go into my places I've lived list, the thing that I love about this is I actually am providing relevance to the fact that I've lived in these places, so I can share recommendations from them. Each sublist is then categorized by places to eat, places to drink, and things to do. So for example, in Jacksonville, for dinner, highly recommend going to Orsay. Highly recommend going to Bodrum. And the beauty of this list is that whenever somebody texts me and says, hey, I'm going to Jacksonville, is there anywhere that you recommend that I go? You can just select that top level list and share the link to your recommendations list so that you don't have to just keep typing it out over and over in texts. You can share the list of recommendations that you've already created and add things to it as they come up. Do you have a few top level lists with sublists, or do you just create ad hoc lists as you go? I use sublists as heavily as one could use a sublist. Now, obviously there are plenty of instances where I will create a list that I don't necessarily think of to add to a top level list. This is another good question. So, for example, to go back to my bucket list, I just created this travel wish list as a standalone list, but then I thought, why does my travel wish list need to be a list of its own? Really, that is a place that I want to travel, which should be a part of a bucket list, a place that I want to go in my life. So I will create those lists ad hoc, and then if I can think of where they belong, like a recipe, then I will add them to that parent level list.
If there was like one feature in Twos that you could show people how to use that you think would, make their use of application easier or better, what would that be?
That is a phenomenal question. So because we will be recording this and putting it on YouTube, the question was, what is one feature that I would highlight for people who are new to Twos or seasoned veterans of Twos that make the usage of the application that much easier or that much more valuable? I would probably say Move. Move is by far one of my favorite features and one of the most valuable features in my mind because of the element of speed that Move offers. So when you open Twos every single day, you are presented with today. And because you are presented with today every time you open Twos, unless you change a user setting, you can quickly write anything down that you want to remember. Like for example, if I just saw the movie Coco and I gave it an 8.4 out of 10, I've quickly captured that on my day. It can be a name, it can be a parking space number, it can be a grocery item. The quick capture of little pieces of information is very important to your overall usage of Twos. You can then select the thing that you've captured on your day and you can move it to its appropriate list. So for this instance, since it's a movie that I've rated, I will move it to my movie ratings list. That way it jumps off of my day and into an organized list where I've rated all of my movies across time. Anybody can open up a Word document and create a list. If I sit and I think about all of the different movies that I've seen over the course of my life and I try to rate them, then I can do that. But here with Move, you'll notice that each one of these things has its own individual date and time associated with it. So what that means is that I have written these things down as soon as I capture them, and then I move them to this list. So at the very bottom, you'll notice I have Coco, January 20th, 2023. And if I change that thing to a number, I can then drag it up into its appropriate place. And you will notice now that if I drop it right here, it'll automatically reorder all of the movies below it, which effectively makes it possible to create these organized, memorable, shareable lists later on. So that was kind of a two-part answer. I find Move incredibly valuable, and since each individual piece of information is broken down into its own thing, that is what makes Move possible. That's what makes reminder possible on each individual thing. That's what makes the ability to change things into to-dos possible. So things and move. Fantastic question. Thank you so much for asking that. Is there a hotkey for move? Also, any potential of having something like a command palette with a list of hotkey and typable functions? You are going to absolutely love the brand new feature that we've added to Two's Web, which I will show you right now. I think I need to minimize this, and I will open twosapp.com. So if you guys didn't know, Two's is a web app and a Mac app, and we have literally as of today added this keyboard shortcuts menu thanks to our developer extraordinaire, the best developer in the world. Keyboard shortcuts, when I click on this, it'll then open all of the different hotkeys of how to do things in Two's. So move does in fact have a hotkey. It is Command-Shift-M. So I will show you that right now. If I write down bananas, and then obviously you won't be able to see my fingers, but if I go Command-Shift-M, I can then move that thing to my grocery list. Command-Shift-M. My referral code is Joe. Parker's referral code is Baller. Thank you guys so much again. This has been How To's webinar number 1. We will be scheduling another one of these either in a bi-weekly cadence, maybe monthly cadence. Please let me know how I did, in our Discord channel or on social media. Thank you guys so much for participating. It has been the best time of my life, and happy Tuesday. I love you.